everybody. Welcome back to Stigma. As a forewarning, I have a little bit of a cold, so if it sounds a little weird, that's all that's happening. So I'll try to push through this as best as I can. I just wanted to make sure that I kept on schedule and deliver when I said I would. So today on Stigma, I want to talk about depression, and more so my personal life with depression, because I don't know how other people have gone through life having depression, so I don't want to speak for anybody else. I just want to speak for me. So it's a little bit about my story around depression. And since I have multiple mental illnesses, I'll have different episodes on each one of those. I have a chemical imbalance, and I was diagnosed with depression when I was 10 years old. And to be honest, I have no idea what that really meant. I was growing up and going through the normal kid phases and teen angst, but times 10. If something was bothering me, instead of just bothering me, it would drag me down. I would feel miserable, or I'd feel worthless, like not wanted, and it could last a long time. It wasn't the normal angst because I have this going on in my brain that doesn't let me just let go. Like I said, I didn't know why things affected me so hard, and why out of almost nowhere I would feel worthless and like I was in everybody's way and that no one cared about me. Being a kid and not knowing how to talk about it, I didn't talk about it. And the depression grew. I talked to nobody about what was going on in my head. I started cutting myself when I was very young, and not so much to kill myself. I was cutting because I realized it relieved pain. So I did that. I needed to find a way out, I guess, out of this pain, out of this suffering. So I cut myself. And it wasn't until I really started talking to people where that habit stopped. But as I got older, things continued to get worse. And again, this was all before I really confided in people about what was going on. So things were getting worse. I started having suicidal thoughts, and I really started to wish badly that I was not alive. I didn't want to be on the earth anymore. And there's a lot of people with depression who I've talked to who have had those same kind of feelings, and I don't feel great about those feelings. Anytime I hear people talk about suicide and they say that person was selfish, I have a different side of it. I wanted to let go because I felt like I was hurting other people. So in my head, I wasn't being selfish per se. It was that I was taking pain away from somebody else. I was in pain, and I was the one that was useless and worthless and was just in the way. So if I wasn't there, that's one less thing that someone has to worry about. And that's honestly how I felt. So I had those thoughts a lot. When I was about 15, maybe, I did attempt to take my life. And that was a very hard time. It wasn't until after that I really started talking to people. But coming out about my depression was actually harder than coming out about my sexuality. And I had no idea how to talk about it with people, because really we were still kids. We were teenagers. Like, it's hard to talk about emotions when it's not just like the typical teenage emotion. So it was a hard struggle. A lot of bad things happened within that time, where I was kind of like forced to talk about it a little bit. And honestly, I'm grateful for that. I'm not grateful for the bad things that happened that led up to it, but being able to finally like come out and talk about it, it was really good. It made me really see another side of how my feelings were affecting other people. And then also some people had no idea that I was feeling this way. So, I mean, most of my life not most of my life, but a good portion of my childhood, I was on medication. I was on antidepressants, and I was kind of a zombie. I was really in my head. I seemed very happy, but inside I was screaming. I was yelling. I I was crying inside all the time. I didn't know what to do. But on the outside, I could smile, I can laugh. And I think that's one really big misconception about depression is someone may seem incredibly happy on the outside, but on the inside, you have no idea what kind of battle they're fighting. And again, for me, happy and normal on the outside, inside, I was sad. I was scared. When I start feeling scared for myself, I know I need to talk to somebody because I don't know what my brain will do or where it will take me to the next spiral. I have had many spirals and hit rock bottom when mentally, I would say. That's kind of the beginning of my depression. When I was about 17, 18 years old, I stopped taking medication because I was on so many growing up, and I really didn't know what it was doing to my body, so I felt like I needed to take a break. And within this last year, I actually started taking medication again because of that fear. That fear started coming back to me, and I knew I had to do something. So I started taking medication for that depression. And one thing that it has done is it's taken that fear out a little bit. I don't have like suicidal thoughts. I sometimes still feel like worthless and stuff like that. I'm going to therapy, and that's one of the ways that I'm learning how to cope with my depression too. Is being able to talk about it and say, hey, these feelings in your head, is that actually you saying that, or is that someone else, or is that your depression? And then really taking a step back to see, that's really not me. I know I'm better than this, than what my brain is telling me or my depression's telling me. So those are just a few ways that I've been able to cope with it. I do have to say, though, is I see things so often on like social media. People are saying like, you're the one holding yourself back, or there are people who have it worse. I really, really dislike those things. Just because someone has depression doesn't mean they don't know these things. And that actually might be making depression worse. For me, when people tell me there are people who have it worse, I know 100% people have it worse. And that almost that does make my depression worse. Because I'm feeling so down and so worthless, and my life is pretty good. And there's people who have it so much worse than me, but I'm still feeling this way. I understand. And then so it makes it worse because I can't feel better, or I'm having a really hard time feeling better. It's not something I don't want this. I don't want to feel this way, but I do. And there's not too much I can do about it. Again, I'm going to therapy. I'm taking medication, so it's not as bad, but it's still always going to be there. My depression's not going away. I can make it better, but it's not going away. Telling me people have it worse, I know that makes my depression worse because I'm not trying to take like someone's pity or empathy or anything away from people who have like real problems, because my depression is a real problem. It is a real thing that is affecting me. I have to live with it for the rest of my life. Also, when people say you're the only one holding yourself back, it's the same kind of thing. I know I am. It's my brain. There is literally a medical thing that is going on in my brain that is holding me back. I am completely aware of this. It's not like I don't try. Like, I love photography and I love videos and I love editing and doing design work. But even if I'm at my computer and I have a project to work on for me, I find it so hard to like move. It's not that I don't want to do it. I love doing these things, but physically it is hard to move. Sometimes I can't get out of bed. Sometimes I forget to eat. The mental can affect you physically. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize is depression can physically affect you. Again, I can't talk about everybody who has depression, but I know a lot of people who have it. They want to do these things they love. When I see pictures of like outdoors and someone is like, this is the best antidepressant, and then it shows medication and it's like, and this is not. No, not necessarily. Yes, I get it. Like, going outside is great, and a lot of times it does help. But sometimes you need more. Again, I have a chemical imbalance. There's actually something in my brain that is off where this medication is leveling me out. But yeah, that's me. That's me with depression. 10 years old. I'm 26 now. I'm still figuring it out. It's something I have to live with, and that's fine. But if I can live with it and people can understand what I'm going through, that will make a world of difference. So, depression. So last thing, I have gotten a lot of feedback on the first episode and just in Stigma in general, and I really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. One piece of feedback I heard was keeping a consistent stream of things. So Stigma, the videos themselves like this, I do plan on having every other week, but I will start to have vlogs, so video blogs of my kind of day-to-day, and I'll try to get those out every couple of days. Maybe if I'm having a bad day, even showing that it's going to be hard, because again, I really don't like being in front of a camera, but I want this to be a conversation. So keep giving the feedback, keep sending in your stories, and so again, sorry for the voice, but hopefully I'll be better next time, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye.
I understand that it might be hard for people to accept that, but they shouldn't judge you over it. Everybody's gonna have a bad day. We just might have a couple more bad days, or a week, or a month, or a year.